Chapter 42. The Back Acre Ranch. My housekeeper, Vivian, began working for us in 1998, when we lived in our beautiful home on Weston Way. She was mystified when we sold and moved into the ramshackle Pete's Place in 2000. However, when we sold Pete's Place and bought the dump at Petaluma, she was certain we had lost our minds. January 2nd, 2005. All three families stood inside the rundown modular home. Holding hands, we thanked the Lord for His goodness, His love, and our wonderful family who trusted God to bring about this impossible dream. Sadly, Dad would pass away before the year was over. The property itself took months to restore. We pulled out numerous dead trees. The back lot was used as a dumping site for their trash. Thousands of pieces of broken glass, old appliances, a boat, and a car had to be hauled off. It was back-breaking work, so we called our place the Back Acre Ranch. We divided the 7 acres into a minor subdivision. We remodeled the trailer from top to bottom, end to end, and put in a paved road, a street light, a shop, a chicken coop, and a horse barn. We cross-fenced it with a security gate at the entrance. In front of our property stood a magnificent 100-year-old oak tree. Its branches stretched out 75 feet in all directions. Russ hung a rope swing from one of its larger limbs and planted fruit and shade trees. Kevin built a play structure with a slide and clubhouse. With irrigation, the previous dump of dry dirt was turned into a park-like setting with green grass and lush pasture. We added horses, free-range chickens, a couple of dogs, and some feral cats, and thanked God for His blessings. Rob and Jen built a custom home with the intention of selling and building a nicer one on their other acres. Kim and Kevin were unable to buy in at the time, so Kevin's father had an older modular home purchased from a private party moved on the parcel behind us. We moved Dad's travel trailer over from South Avenue, and our family compound was complete. We had been at Petaluma for 18 months when I read some old entries from my journal. I was brought to tears as I read about a commitment Kim, Kevin, Jen, Russ, and I made to each other at Weston Way, dated July 1999. Praying to purchase land where we could all live together. I had totally forgotten about it. When I mentioned it to the family, none of them remembered either. Although we had forgotten, God hadn't. He fulfilled that prayer exactly 5 years later, in July 2004. It gave me chills as I realized this property was God's plan. However, if I hadn't recorded our petition and written down the date, God's faithfulness and precise timing would have been lost forever. For the eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and His ears are attentive to their prayer. 1 Peter 3:12. I am not righteous in myself. I am a sinner saved by grace, but God sees me through Jesus Christ. For our sake He made Him to be sin, who knew no sin, so that in Him we might become the righteousness of God. 2 Corinthians 5:21. Having everyone together those first 4 years was wonderful. Jen and Rob had their first baby, and we couldn't have felt more blessed. It was immensely disappointing when, in 2010, our family complex began to crumble. The 2009 recession resulted in a housing market crash that destroyed Jen and Rob's plan to sell their home for a profit. They did a short sale and moved closer to Rob's work, 45 minutes away. Kim and Kevin made a career change that would take them away from the property as well. Our nephew by marriage, Corey, convinced Kevin to go back to school to become a dentist, as Corey had done 10 years earlier. The two of them became the best of friends. Corey knew Kevin was unhappy with his job in Palo Alto, so it wasn't a hard sale. After Kevin graduated, Corey told him he would bring him in as a partner in his established practice. It was an unbelievable opportunity and very generous on Corey's part. Kevin was all but guaranteed to hit the ground running. Yet dental school was expensive, and the 3-year program would have to be financed. Kevin quit his job at Stanford and attended Stanislaus State, where he earned his bachelor's degree. Moving his family to San Francisco, he attended the University of the Pacific's dental school. I was certain Petaluma was God's plan, a family homestead where we would be close to each other and live out the rest of our lives. But apparently, that was not the case. It was a learning process. Although we watched God open doors, which were just short of miraculous, we would discover that Petaluma was a small step toward the impossible. The difference between the difficult and the impossible is that the impossible takes a little longer. Charles Alexander de Calonne, Finance Minister to King Louis XVI of France.